Hey guys, there's been a fallacy that's been floating around for over 2 years straight. You've seen the comments where they say, oh, you're in love with Christopher Watts, or you support Christopher Watts. Or the ones that say, oh, you must be Cindy Watts, or you must be Jamie Watts, or you must be NK. They post in their comments, you are writing to Christopher Watts in prison. Or you're in love with Christopher Watts and you're jealous of his wife. Well, all of that is just a bunch of bunko. And have the attackers ever actually paid attention to what I was saying when they launched their attacks against me, instead of just creating their own narrative in order to try to get other people to hate me too? Then they would have noticed that right from the start, I've said that Christopher Watts is right where he belongs. Do I think it's possible that he was telling the truth? Do I think it's reasonable to believe that he was telling the truth when he said that he did not murder his daughters, Bella and Cece Watts? In my own opinion, I think it is reasonable to believe that he didn't murder his daughters. In my opinion, I think it's reasonable to believe it's possible he didn't murder anybody. But do I think he belongs in prison? Well, at this point, I'm thinking that he evidently is right where he belongs. He signed the plea agreement. Why? He didn't file an appeal. Why? He made 0 demands. From the looks of things. Why? Why did he even take part in the police interview to begin with? Why, when his father said to him that they would get a lawyer, and then the investigators came rushing back into the room right away, why did Christopher Watts keep talking? Do you remember the case of Steven Avery and that cat story that I talk about quite a bit? Well, I want you to think about the video that we've all seen showing poor little Bella getting sprayed right in the eyes with water, while her mother sat there laughing and saying, "This is why we had kids." Christopher Watts opened the sliding glass door for little Bella to be able to run away from her mother. And then he closed the door on his daughter. You know how we've been told that Christopher Watts' children were put in bed every night at 6:30 p.m., right? So evidently, Christopher Watts thought that was A-okay. We've been told that poor little Bella and Cece have been taken to the doctors and the specialists and the emergency room and the clinics and the allergists and the chiropractor repeatedly and often. They weren't secretly taken to the emergency room. They weren't secretly taken to the specialists. Christopher Watts was aware of each and every time the girls were subjected to further medical procedures. And he didn't speak up. He didn't put a stop to it. He stood by and watched. We're hearing over and over again how his wife spent them into bankruptcy. We've heard how he didn't even have access to his own earnings. We've heard how his wife didn't pay the HOA dues, or how his wife didn't pay the house payment for 3 months straight. Well, guess whose name was on that note? His wife's name wasn't on that note. When she didn't pay those house payments, her credit wasn't affected by it at all. He was the sole person responsible for making sure that those house payments were paid. He was the one person responsible to the bank to make sure that those house payments were being paid and that they were being paid on time. And he didn't do it. He failed. He knew that the daycare center was expensive, right? And he knew that his wife was right at home. So he evidently thought it was a-okay to put both kids in daycare full time while his wife sat at home. Which then leads us to an entirely different issue. Because over and over again, people are claiming there was an open CPS case and that the girls had to be in daycare. So let's go down that little rabbit hole for just a second. Let's say there was an open CPS case. Let's say there were accusations flying. Did he hire a lawyer and fight for custody? No. He failed to protect his children. If there was an open CPS case, obviously, right? He chose instead to pretend that everything was just fine. The Lexus is another good example of what I'm talking about here. She had to have the car. She earned it, because she was so highly successful with the MLMs she was involved with. In fact, the lease on the car required a signature from somebody with an income, right? So guess who signed for it? Christopher Watts. Do you have any clue what the car payment must have been? Do you have any clue what the insurance premiums would have been for that car? He took responsibility for paying the house payments. And he failed. He took responsibility for paying the HOA dues. And he failed. He took responsibility for paying the Lexus payments. And on his income alone, when you think about the house payment and the HOA dues, and things like utilities, property taxes, homeowners insurance, you factor in food, gas in the car, regular everyday expenses. He certainly would have known he couldn't afford to sign for that Lexus, but he signed anyway. Christopher Watt's wife was not the only person who cared so much about appearances. And here we are over 2 years later. And what is Christopher Watts doing with his time? Sounds like he's enjoying the pen pal routine. Sounds like he's enjoying the attention that he's getting. And it sounds to me like he is once again failing to do the right thing. When he saw his wife giving the children Benadryl and Tylenol each evening, if that's even true, right? If it's true, and he saw his wife giving the children Benadryl and Tylenol each and every evening, he had a responsibility to put a stop to it. He had responsibilities of an adult. He had responsibilities of a husband. He had responsibilities of a father. And he failed across the board. I do think that Christopher Watts was a battered male. But there's something more going on there than him simply being controlled by his wife. He wanted the house that they didn't need. He wanted the car that they couldn't afford. He wanted the pricey daycare center for the girls. And he evidently wanted Bella and Cece to be taken to the doctor and the clinics and the specialists a lot.